Hey guys, in this tutorial, I'll show you how to set up PubGuru lazy loading on desktop. This is MyTimesMore's proprietary technology that has increased our publishers' revenues by up to 30%. With this technology, we will only load the ad if it's likely going to be viewable on the user screen, making your ad placements highly valuable to the advertisers and eventually would result to an increase in CPM performance. Now let's pretend this is your desktop layout. Let's say you have the leaderboard, you have this ad unit on the right hand panel, then you have one in the middle of your content. It's the same across the entire website. So let's say you have run of site, whether you're on home page or any other pages of the site, you have all these three standard ad units deployed on all the pages. So here's an overview on how we're going to go about the implementation for desktop. We will still deploy the header as normal. So if you have mobile, desktop, lazy loading, you will still have a single header. Unless you have a separate ad map or different types of ads deployed on certain pages of your site. Then we have a separate video tutorial for that. Make sure you check varying ad maps tutorial. So deploy the header as normal. Then on the body section of the site, we are going to deploy the normal div IDs for whatever placements you have running. So if you have the leaderboard, let's say if you name this differently, let's say this is your above the fold 728 by 90, that's fine. So we have to replace that with your actual div ID or your Google Account Manager ad unit code. And let's say on the right rail, you named it ATF underscore right underscore, let's say 300 by 600. Let's just pretend that's your actual ad unit name. Then let's say in the middle of the content, you named it mid underscore 300 by 250. Okay, so you have all these three ad units deployed across all pages of the site, but because we're going to implement lazy loading and infinite scroll, we're going to deploy more placeholder divs. So as the user scrolls down, we can go ahead and load the ads as necessary. So what will happen now is that further down the page, below the fold, we're going to place this div class placeholder, which is PG Lazy, but we will also have to specify the div where the settings will be inherited from. So let's say, for example, you want to have this div, okay, or this next BTF below the fold unit to inherit the settings from your ATF 728 by 90, then we go ahead and follow the same. If you notice, there's no div ID here. It's only the div class, and then we have the data GPT parent. So as we go further down the page, we can add more placeholder div class or div IDs here. And let's say the next one, I want it to inherit the settings from the mid 300 by 250. So we go ahead and do that here. And as the user scrolls down, let's say I still want this next ad unit to inherit the same settings, mid 300 by 250, because I want the same size, the same bids, for example. Then we go ahead and implement the same exact line still. Okay, so now you get the idea. Now we can start the implementation on WordPress. So let's first create the groups and rotation, still using the Advanced Ads plugin. Okay, let's create a new group, and we only need two. So I want to create the header group. If this is the first time you're creating it, then you have to do the same here. But if you already have a header group and a body group, then you can skip this part. All right, now let's go to placements. And then I want to specify one group will show up in the header. So I call it the header placement. Choose the group. So I'm going to choose the header group and then save. So they're going to show up in the head section of the site. Create another placement. This time we'll choose body. And this is going to be the body placement. And select the body group. All right. Now we're ready to create or define the codes that we need to implement. If this is the first time you're deploying the header tag, then you will have to create it here. We call it header. Choose plain text and code, then paste the header tag provided to you by your Monetize More account manager. So here's one example. Paste it. And of course, we choose header or header group in here. That's all you need to do. Unless you have display or visitor conditions, then you can go ahead and specify. Otherwise, just go ahead and publish. Alrighty, and we have existing placements, so we're gonna select header placement. And now it's visible on the front end. Okay, let's do another set of ads. Now this time we need to implement our normal ad units, right? So we're going to have this one right here. Click new ad. And let's say this is my ATF underscore 728 by 90. Plain and text code, paste the div ID, and of course this is going to be part of the body group. We want this centered and publish. And say I want this to show up before content. I choose that, and there you go. Next, we're going to create another ad, and of course this is for your next ad unit. Click new ad. And let's say this is your ATF underscore right 300 by 600. Paste the div. Still part of the body group. You want it centered. And then publish. Okay. So I can choose where exactly on the site I want this to show up. Let's say I want this before content, sidebar, or specify it here. So for this one, I want this to show up on the sidebar, for example. So I choose that. And then let's say I want this to show up right below the search box. So I can go ahead and drag it there. So we already have one here. And then choose which ad unit do you want to show up under search. So it's going to be the right 300 by 600. Then we just go ahead and save it. All right. Now, once that's done, let's go back to the ad section. And now we're ready to create the third ad that we run. And let's say this is the mid 300 by 250. Plain text and code. Paste your div ID. We still want it centered. And then still part of the body group, publish. Okay, so let's say this one, I want this in the middle of the content. And let's pretend I want this after the third paragraph. Click OK, and now it's there. All right, now we're ready to do the placeholder divs. As the user scrolls down, we're going to fill in the ads depending on which parent you have specified here. And that's where all the settings will be inherited from, including the bids that will come in. All right, so let's say, for example, the next ad will inherit, I want it to inherit this one, so I copy that. So I click new ad, and let's say I want to name this lazy one, for example, and then I'm going to put it in here. There you go. Still part of the body group. I still want it centered, and then I hit publish. And this time I can choose all other settings in here wherever I want this to show up. And if I want it still in the content, for example, and I want this after maybe 8th paragraph. So I specify 8 and click on OK. All right, there you go. Now let's create the next one. Let's say, for example, the next one that will be lazy loaded is going to inherit the settings from the mid 300 by 250. So we create new ad. Let's call this lazy 2. It's up to you on how you want to name it. Plain text and code. Put the div class or the placeholder div here. Okay, and you see, of course, we have that div ID as parent. Still part of the body group. Click on publish. Now you're going to have to define or specify where you want this ad to show up. And there are also other options in here, like custom position. You want it done on pro places, sticky, add-on, pop-up. If you click see all, you have all other options. So let's just pretend for this tutorial, I want it to show after content. And there it is. So again, create as many ads as necessary. So let's say, for example, you want 15 ad units. Just go ahead and create all the placeholder divs for them and make sure you define the parent where the settings will be inherited from. Once you're done doing that, we'll go ahead and update the groups. So remember, we had the body group, so we will edit. Okay, so for this one, we're gonna have to do ordered ads. Specify the maximum number of ad units that you run per page. If you have 10, do 10. If you have more than 10, say all. And then I would suggest putting the same weight for all of them. Okay, then you can just say update groups. So there you have it, guys. Make sure to check out our blog on how to set up lazy loading and infinite scroll with PubGuru header bidding. We have all the instructions in there, plus bonus for you, best practices on how to set up or in terms of optimizing lazy loading and infinite scroll. Of course, don't forget to send us your test page so our dev team can check to make sure your implementation is all good and you can start earning more money.
That's it for today. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and to subscribe to our blog to learn to monetize more. Hope to see you here again soon. Bye for now.